Alright, welcome to another live stream. Let's see what do we have for headlines today. आज है रविवार. Ravivar is typically supposed to be a rest day, but that is again one of the imports or one of the hangovers of the colonial legacy. I think one thing that must be changed in people's head is understanding of the colonial mentality. Meaning, Sundays were never a break for us. Breaks, the reason why we have a lot of festivals in our country, in our culture, is because we're only supposed to rest during the festivals. Otherwise, we're supposed to keep on working throughout the week. So, this entire concept of having a Sunday off just because the Christians could go to the church, it has been carried forward, and and we are stuck to it. I don't know why. Let's see. Once the solar energy generation to robot manufacturing to chip fabrication to loop is closed, conventional currency will just get in the way. Just wattage and tonnage will matter, not dollars. And there is unlimited demand for intelligence. I don't know how to interpret that, but fine. Malaysia. So the Prime Minister is in Malaysia, is it? जो करे पीने का दिल जाम लिया फिरा. The radical playbook of Zamri Vinod, Zakir Naik's protege, trying to sabotage. That is the point. People who have chosen to convert, they never look at history with an objective lens. Once you convert to Islam, you have an inherent bias towards Islam. You cannot go against it, you cannot speak against it, and somehow they expect others to completely ignore their bias. This is the kind of world that we live in right now. Okay. Okay, this is obviously AI generated. जो कर भी नहीं का दिल जाम लिए फिर ढांडा न्योली वाला. हम करने पे पूरा फिर काम नहीं अड़िया है. Right now, Mumdani is doubling down hard on grassroots Muslim image because he's just been exposed as part of the corrupt elite tied to the Epstein Clinton Soros network in the recent Epstein file release that was behind his recent Muslim blah 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 blah. I mean, absolutely own this YouTubia historian. I don't know why. I think we have a problem with identifying, and up to a certain extent, this problem is self created, I would say, because we have to check the people that we make famous. Okay, Now, this female that goes by the name of Ruchika Sharma, she likes to identify as a historian. She has been very vocal about her opinions on social media, on YouTube, and very recently there was a debate competition in which she had taken part. Okay, all of this is all right, but the way her content is getting amplified. Okay, you cut clippings of her position on a certain issue and then you put it on social media, and that triggers debate, triggers whatever xyz. So stop interacting with such people. They are doing it on purpose. She knows that she's lying, she knows that she's being divisive, but the reason why she's doing it is to gain traction on social media. This is like rage baiting, I would say. This is exactly what people do on X, people do on YouTube with those misleading thumbnails. They're basically trying to elicit views by being divisive, by lying, and obviously people will be attracted to it to disapprove her, because there is this inherent need within us to correct others. Okay, so let these people be. The entire ecosystem, people, if people are discussing about something and they're not ready to listen to the other side, they're completely oblivious to the facts of history, just let them be, let them live out their life in whatever cocoon that they're living, and I will just rest it at that. Okay, what's this? So the Doodh Soda shop in Dhurandhar movie was there for a reason. Peak detailing by Aditya Dharsa. Okay. Opening ceremony of Milan 2026 Winter Olympics has sparked intense backlash by one section on social media. Okay, why? Okay, due to this star that they have, the symbol of Jewish faith. Virat Kohli? Think like gangsters until the real one arrived. I mean, this is okay. Now, the Men in Blue, the cricketing team of Bharat, we have had many Muslim players. Okay, because we as a society are inherently pluralistic, inherently accommodative, inherently accepting. Okay, we allow others to coexist with us while holding on to their practices. But the same cannot be said about the cricketing team of Pakistan. They have not produced a non-Muslim cricketer like the way we have produced. We have given platforms to a lot of Muslim cricketers on our national team. Okay, some of them are currently playing and are performing at their peak. But the same cannot be said about Pakistan. Okay, a country that was established on the principles of Islam, and that goes for any realm of human endeavor. They have not produced actors who are non-Muslim, actors of relevance. They have not produced cricketers. They have not produced athletes who are non-Muslims. Okay, so there is a state-sponsored, institutionalized, for the lack of a better word, I would say apartheid, that is being practiced against the non-Muslims. To hell with it, their own brothers of the book, that is Christians, they have not managed to produce one Christian cricketer. I think Yusuf Yohana was a Christian, but later on he also converted to Islam. So That tells you a lot about the mentality on which that country was established. Sangh did not come into being as a reaction to anyone, nor for opposing anyone, nor for its own publicity. It was formed for the betterment of the Rashtra. Okay. I think a lot of Bollywood actors are getting called out. Uh, let's see what happens. Coming years would be very interesting for Bollywood. Let's see if Bollywood as an industry survives or not. Because earlier it was easier for them to get away with insulting our culture, disparaging our cultural practices. But now that people are aware, and we have social media to thank for it to a certain degree, because now everyone with a phone and an internet connection can browse. There will be clippings of such movies, such content in the form of reels or in the form of shorts on YouTube. Okay, so people are increasingly getting aware, and thanks to such places, such pages, such as Jones of Bollywood. Himanta Biswa Sarma. Assam government had constituted an SIT to inquire an alleged shaking connivance with British Elizabeth. Okay. The case has been investigated and sensitive material information has been obtained. However, beyond a point, it may not be possible to continue investigations or Interpol and from the are required. It has therefore been decided that the case will be handed over to Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay. Okay, we don't let us not live under the assumption or under the belief that there are no enemies within our country. There definitely are. There have been multiple instances where we have been proven wrong about our fact of Bhaichara or Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb. Okay. Now, the onus is on us. Have we learned our lesson? Or we are still oblivious and nonchalant towards the efforts that are underway to erase all our cultural practices? There are chief ministers, okay, sitting chief ministers of state who talk about eradicating the dharma. Okay, so it's crazy. The world outside, the world out there, at least in contemporary Bharat, is crazy because we know that there are enemies outside our borders on all the sides. Okay, but within our nation as well, there are enemies. And I would say, there is an enemy. There are enemies. There are two enemies, both the versions of monotheism. Okay. Dalit youth are realizing the double standards and the activism of Bhim Army, a modern version of Jogendranath Mandal. Yes. Now, people who don't know who this fellow was, Jogendranath Mandal, he was the only non-Muslim when there was partition. He was the only non-Muslim who went to Pakistan as a member of Minister of Minority Affairs. When Jinnah was the one who was declared Governor General of Pakistan, the vivified part of the holy homeland of Bharat. Okay, so he was the only one who went over there. He came back within a span of 5 years. He realized he could not exist with them. He realized the error in his ways. Okay, so look up this fellow Jogendranath Mandal. What did he have to say about the runnings and the ongoings and the administration of the early years right after the partition? I mean, yeah, the Westerners are cowards because deep down they know whatever crimes that were perpetuated in the Nazi Germany, they originated from their own biblical literature. It was sanctioned by Christianity itself. Okay, face it. Just because you cannot face it, you cannot own up to the crimes that were committed in the name of your religion. Okay, you cannot misappropriate our symbols. Just because you are scared of confronting the history, you cannot simply just shift the blame. Okay, no, it came from an ideology of the Aryans or the people from Bharat, and hence, okay, we are not at fault. It's your religion that sanctioned this. Okay. Last Kangi is out. This is Malaysia. Okay. Ghislaine Maxwell. Open rally in Rawalkot, POJK under masked JEM militants marched openly, chanting and displaying propaganda banners, all under apparent security cover. Event also featured LET leaders and Hamas reps linking Kashmir solidarity with Al-Aqsa flood. Let's hear what are they saying if the audio is available. Sometimes my headphone doesn't just work.
इस झंडे ने बड़े रोले आ सरकार मेरी इस झंडे ना नवा सुनी इस झंडे की तकी तो बड़ी बड़ी सरकार कंदी गशी ऐना नहीं इस झंडे ने इधर रोले पे वे तो जरा जरा भरा इस झंडे ने तैयार करना ना एक बारी अच्छी ना कमेंट चला लिखो जियो कश्मीर लियो फिर पता चला है तो कुछ भरा कमेंट करी आने तुसा कश्मीर लेना.
This is JEM, Jaish-e Muhammad. Find out what this translates to in English. You would be surprised. Now, this does not qualify as blasphemy according to them, using the name of the Prophet for such causes. Okay, that's very convenient for them to not take this as blasphemy. All the supposedly moderate Muslims that we have in our society, according to them, this is not blasphemy, using the name of their Prophet for such causes. Rajasthan, the woman who refused Rara with her father-in-law. Zohran Mamdani was rejected from Columbia University despite lying about being black on his application and having a daddy on the faculty. And you all thought his failed rapper would have the skill to run NYC, really? And when Yogi Ji reached his ancestral village, many deeply emotional scenes emerged. Children, elders, and youth alike were seen welcoming him warmly. Yogi definitely has an aura. Okay. Vishwabhushan Mishra Kashi Vishwanath says, the question is, how are they reaching Mumbai? Bangladesh is quite far. Even Myanmar, from where Rohingyas come, that's also very far away. So how exactly are they getting to Mumbai? She is Badhai. The rest of wood has gone into her head. People are fool here think she is a Brahmin, but she is OBC. पंडित पूरी हिस्ट्री में घुसखोर रहे हैं, चाहे फिर कुषाण हों, शाक से घुस लेकर उन्हें क्षत्रिय दर्जा देने की बात हो, या फिर राजाओं से मुफ्त में टैक्स फ्री ज़मीन वाली घूस लेने की बात हो। मूवी बनाओ या ना बनाओ, बात तो ये आने सच है। Okay, so like what's the problem over here? The Brahmin community, specifically along with most Hindus in general, don't use the word Hindu, are unaware that they are on their last leg of survival. Civilization that they are a part of, which is the oldest, most robust one in historic continuum, will be wiped off soon unless steps are taken right away to prevent this well thought out slaughter. But yeah, secularism, liberalism, I think I literally have friends from school, school and college. You literally see their transition. Earlier, when they were in school and they were in college, there would be this liberal people talk about secularism, so on and so forth. Now that they've grown into adults, they've had some experiences. Okay, now they're coming back to the on the side of dharma, or coming back to the side of supporting our civilization, because deep down they know what exactly is going on. Okay, you don't need to be a doctorate historian to know what monotheists have done to the earth, what monotheists have done in the name of their religion. Okay, yeah, you don't need a PhD in history to know how Islam spread, or what Islam is currently doing and capable of in Europe, in certain countries of West Asia, and for that matter, even in Bharat. Okay, we know this. You don't need a PhD from a JNU or a history. You don't need to read thick history books to understand this concept of expansionist, monotheist religions of Christianity and Islam. Okay. What is this fellow? Okay. Like I said, once you convert to Islam, you have an inherent bias about Islam. You cannot speak against it. You cannot voice your expression in support of any other faith, any other religion. So people need to study this, the bias that it generates within you. I would have loved to be part of this panel had you not included Suhail Seth, who is a Me Too accused and has been called out by multiple women. I hope you will understand my concern. Oh, is that so? Just get out impulse free from government. Everything will fall in line. A Sikh man converts to Islam by wearing a judi. जो कर नहीं कदे इल्जाम लिए फिर बदनाम लिए फिर कि तू है मैं तक. So there is a book of GKGS of Lucent publication famous. Please check what is written about Nath Sampradaya and Baba Gorakhnath there and what were his teachings. Baramulla, JNK, Shia locals protested suicide bombing. Oh, this should be surprising. Okay. Where were they after the Delhi bomb blast? No, like I said, okay, it is real. Their loyalties lie somewhere else. Their loyalty is not towards Bharat. If you don't want to see it, give it some time. You might see it after 5 years, 10 years. But the time might already have passed when you realize it. Are you willing to take that chance? That is my question to you. Are you willing to take a chance that 5 years or 10 years down the line, you will find out that all these years you stuck to these principles of liberalism, secularism, but at the end of a decade you realize that you were wrong all this while. Now all the damage that you had done, that you must have done, is irreversible. The damage would already have been done by the time you realize it. So this is something that we deeply must think about. What are the evidences from the contemporary realities that we are faced with? I'm not asking you to study the ancient history or medieval history. I'm not even asking you to deconstruct the Mughal history like a lot of historians or so-called historians, for whatever that means, what they are doing on X or Instagram. Just look at the contemporary history. Start studying from, let's say, 1700s or 1800s onwards, because you have very well documented evidences about things that were done from the 16th, 17th century, 18th. Okay, so look up. And then after a brief and a comprehensive study of 200, 300 years of history of the subcontinent of Bharat, try to make a pattern out of it. Pahalgam happened, celebrated as Sindoor was mocked, killed a cow by hanging it, throwing down from a height, sclabbed. Shouldn't even the last thing lectures deserve? Yep. Is that so? Salman Khan, yes, I see him over there. So he is attending RSS centenary event in Mumbai, addressed by RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat. Celebrities don't mean think shit now these days. Especially, I would like to say, after COVID, Bollywood is slowly losing its gas because the people inside Bollywood, the people that run Bollywood, they're not, ready to accept the change in the audience perception. Okay, the consumers of movies, the consumers of Bollywood movies 50 years ago, they wanted to see all that bhaichara and all that false narratives because that was the mood that was set in those times. But right now, okay, I day in day out I interact with Gen Z. Majority of my students are Gen Z or Gen Alpha. Okay, they don't want to see such melodrama like people from my generation. I am a millennial. Okay, people from my generation enjoyed. I was overjoyed after watching the movie Kal Ho Na Ho. All right, certain movies that had subliminal messaging about disassociating from your own cultural practices, making us think that our cultural practices are in a way regressive or are hindering our march forward to a modern nation. Okay, but I would say definitely Bollywood requires you to grow out of it. Once you realize that those movies were made with a specific agenda, you ignore them, and then the audience is definitely waking up. Hence, you see certain movies not working. Okay. Was far more unforgiving to Osho than it ever was to Epstein. Osho threatened power, Epstein served it. That's why the reactions were different. It's high time for unification. All Brahmin subsects must unite, abandoning the internal divisions, and must form a cohesive, proactive community to resist the visible threats. States deliberately do not take any action against organized hate mongers and also reluctant to consider casteist remarks hate speech. That's absolutely true. Okay, the movement to protect your culture should definitely start from there. And then the discussion cannot be sincere. Then it just turns into a emotional one-upmanship that you indulge in some theatrics, try to elicit attention based on your emotional appeal, not on logical or factual basis. I think fine. Maybe, I don't know. Alright guys, that's it for today's stream. I think I'll do gaming stream later in the afternoon, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. You can explore my other content on YouTube. There are some English learning videos that I've made. I've added to the playlists. You can check out my Instagram profile. You can check out my X. I've written some good posts. If you like to read, you can look up my LinkedIn page. I've written a lot of